Good morning. Welcome to Westside Unitarian Universalist Church, where compassion leads us to work for justice and equality. I'm glad you came today, and it is my hope that you'll find something here that nourishes your heart, feeds your mind, and grows your spirit. My name is Tanner Trask, pronouns he, him, and I am your worship leader this morning. Be you a spiritual seeker, an atheist, or a theist, Westside is a community of many beliefs, genders, and sexualities, a community of diverse cultural, racial, and class backgrounds, a community of varied abilities and gifts. Some here find inspiration in the great books, others in the great outdoors, and others still in great conversations. And if I just interrupted one of those great conversations, you can pick it back up by the coffee pot after the service. Whoever you may be, all are welcome in our inclusive congregation. To newcomers and old friends alike, together we say, welcome. At Westside, we are raising the next generation of Unitarian Universalists, and we want them to know that they are an important part of our community. Several years ago, we chose to be radically inclusive and to adopt a multi-generational worship, where our services include all family members, so welcome to all children and youth of all ages. And there are a number of announcements included in your order of service. Please feel free to take any of them with you that you might need for reminders this week or to share with others. One of those is always going to be sort of the upcoming services over the next few weeks. So definitely take a look at that. And if you're new here, there's a lot of just sort of, here's how our church basically works, and if you have questions where you can direct them. Email addresses, myself, anyone else you're going to see after the service would be happy to talk to you too. If you're not on our mailing list yet, you can sign up by clicking the link at the bottom of our homepage at the westsideu.org website. Whether you do that when you get home or for those of you watching us on Facebook or later on YouTube, right now, you can just do that because you're at home in front of your computer. And for those of you in person with us, please take a moment to silence any devices you may have. And our service this morning is titled The Terrifying Nature of Shadows and the Origins of Gods by our very own Stan Yoder. You can clap. He's worth it. Stan's been a member of this community for quite a few years now, and he shared more than a few reflections from this pulpit during that time. And Stan believes that knowledge is better than ignorance, love and laughter overcome fear, and properly spiced red lentil dal is food for the gods, if there were gods. And now I invite you to take a deep breath, and from wherever you are, settle into this sacred space that we create, and let us worship together as we listen to this morning's prelude, Concert Etude by Yoder, performed by Dr. Yuki Kumamoto. Our opening words today are Bright Flash, written by Stan Yoder, written for today's service. Humans love stories. We cannot help ourselves from making stories, tying up the loose ends of what we observe. There's a bright flash in the sky. A scientist would report, there was a bright flash in the night sky, and will not embellish without further information. A high drama person may say, a star blew up last night. A conspiracy theorist is likely to say, last night, an alien spaceship shot at us, but missed. And a televangelist might say, God's wrath is now confirmed for men who eat rainbow pickles. Humankind's curse is its rigid inclination toward prematurely pronouncing a false explanatory story dogma and declaring critical analysis of that dogma blasphemy. And as do many Unitarian Universalist congregations, we begin our time together this morning with the lighting of a chalice. I invite my wife, Melissa Trask, up to come forward and light our chalice this morning. Chalice is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith and represents the UUA, Unitarian Universalist Organization, or Association, sorry. And the flaming chalice symbolizes the heritage of our past, the warmth of community, and the light of hope within this church today. In addition to being my wife, Melissa here is very active in the financial side of the church. She's currently the treasurer. She's worked with the endowment team. She's worked with all the different finance teams we have. They do so much work for this church. Everybody on these teams, some of them you may know, some of them you may not have sort of met yet, but if you ever hear people talking about the finance of this church, it's in very good hands with people that care very much and do a lot of work to help maintain that. So I just wanted to recognize that because their work a lot of times is invisible. When finances are going well, you don't hear much about it. So our chalice lighting words in addition to that today are Space for Breath by the Reverend Scott Taylor. We light this chalice to remember that it is good to make space for breath, that work is not the measure of your worthiness, that filling one's life to the brim leaves no room for grace and surprise to slip in. Welcome, friends. Let us make space and be renewed. And our opening hymn this morning is Imagine by John Lennon. It's not in any of your hymnals. We do have a blue insert in your service, order of service, and it's also going to be, I believe, projected on the screen, the lyrics as well. So join our song leader, Jennifer Brown.
It is Stan's request that you sing along, please.
Yeah. All right, please rise.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us, only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say, hey, I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brotherhood of man. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. You may say, hey, I'm a dreamer, someday will join us, and the world will be as one.
And please remain standing. I forgot to do the please stand up for the hymn part. That's on me. Appreciate it. So please remain standing, or as you are is fine. And join me in our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to work for justice through action, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. You may be seated. And you may also come forward if you'd like, if you're young or just young at heart, and would like to have a close-up view of our time for all ages today, presented by our illustrious Director of Lifespan Religious Education, Nikki Kennedy, with an assist from Tricia Bowes, and moral support. Thank you.
Good
And then we'll
morning.
sing the kids out with From You I Receive at the end with number 402 in the gray hymnal.
Thank you, Tanner. Good morning. That was actually pretty good, but I think I need to hear it one more time. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, now that's how Westside says good morning. That was awesome. So this morning in RE, which is religious education, our religious education class, we talked about the love a mother has for a kid, and it was really beautiful. And if you've never seen any of the Disney shorts, they're like 8-9 minute videos. You should see the Disney short called Bao. It is beautiful. Bao, B-A-O, just like the food. Bao. It was really sweet, and I enjoyed the conversation. James, did you want to add something? Oh, it was good except for the last part, but that's okay. We're not going to spoil it. So I want to share a story with you guys. At the beginning of time, before anything else in the entire world existed, love was all there was. And it filled up everything in the whole universe. But love got bored. It got lonely. There was no one to be in love with. So one day, love decided to make a world. First, it took a deep breath. Can you guys take a deep breath with me? And let it out. How deep? Let me see you take a deeper breath this time. That was awesome. Love got all squished up, taking the deepest breath it had ever taken. And it was so squished that it squeezed out the darkness. The darkness was all around, thick and shiny and black. It was beautiful. But now love couldn't see anything. Love waved its arms and legs. James, can you wave your arms and legs for me? Thank you. Oh, he's doing an excellent job. But darkness was everywhere. I have to do something about this, said love. It thought for a minute. Tried to think of the most wonderful, beautiful, warm thoughts ever. Love thought harder and harder, and all of a sudden, love called out, "I want light," and pop! Guess what happened? Warm and beautiful thoughts exploded outward in 10 different directions and shaped themselves into 10 big, glowing glass balls. Each ball was filled with a spinning lump of pure light and warmth. Some of the spare good thoughts that couldn't quite fit in the glass became dust and water vapor and seeds and molecules that could form animals. And love said, "This is amazing. I better make something for the light to shine on." So it waved its arms and kicked its legs. James, thank you. You're doing a good job. And all of a sudden, dust and water molecules, I think I just messed up, sorry. Love and dust and water vapor and molecules that had been scattered around when the glass balls formed began to form into another huge ball. This one of dirt and of water and of plants and of animals. Love called this earth. The 10 balls of light started toward the earth, and if they made it here in one piece, the entire planet would have been exactly the way love wanted it. But the glass balls are too fragile to contain such strong, powerful, wonderful, good thoughts. They broke open and they shattered, and all the good thoughts shattered and flew out like sparks and were scattered like sand, like seeds, like stars. Those sparks fell everywhere on earth in tiny bits instead of big clumps that love had intended. Oh, my Lanta, said love. I'm too big. I'll never be able to find all those tiny sparks. I have to make one more thing. So love waved its arms and kicked its feet. One last time. Wait, do it one more time. Good job. Thank you, James. And people appeared on the earth. They didn't know it, but they were created with one job: to find these sparks, to find these tiny pieces of wonderful goodness, and to bring them together again in big clumps. When enough clumps are there, I will recreate the big glass containers to hold them, and this time I will set them down a little more carefully, love said. So all of us, from the time we are born, we have a job. And that job is to help find love. To help find love and more good and warm, wonderful things. If we do that, we are fixing the world. May your week be beautiful and full of love and full of finding beautiful and wonderful things and helping to create beautiful and wonderful things. Thanks for being here. Stay cool. Thank you. Got it.
Good morning. I'm Jane Hardwick, your pastoral care associate this morning. And in our community here at Westside, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because each person in this community has value. Submit your joys and concerns to the team by completing one of these forms at the welcome desk, emailing us at pastoralcare@westsideu.org, or contacting me, John Fisher, Debbie Rake, Barbara Crotty, Brenda McKeon, or Carol Kappa, who are the current members of our pastoral care team. We share our concerns with one another today, knowing that sorrows come to each person's life, knowing that together we offer comfort. And we have one concern today. This is from me regarding Judy Clemens. Judy Clemens had a bad fall last Sunday evening and is in the hospital. She will be okay, but ask for your sparkling, healing thoughts. She requests no calls or visits at this time. We also share our joys with one another, knowing too that joy comes into all of our lives, knowing that together our voices can rise in a chorus of celebration. Today, we don't have any joys that people wish to share, but we share the joys you do have that perhaps you've chosen not to share today. We make space each week for musical centering, knowing the life and experience of every person matters, and together our lights shine brighter. as we hold these joys and concerns among us, both those spoken and unspoken. Let us sing our centering song, number 1002 in the teal hymnal, Comfort Me.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul.
Good morning. My name is Diane Austin, and I'm a member of the meditation groups here at Westside. Our meditation today will begin with an introduction before we move into a minute of silence. Our bell will sound to signal the start of your own meditation, prayer, or reflection, and it will sound again at the end. Our introduction today is Letting Go of Certainty by the Reverend Rebecca Coppola. On renewal of the self by letting go of expectation and judgment. Let go of the idea that you know what breathing should feel like. Just notice the breath as it moves in and out of the body. Let go of certainty. Be with the breath as it is. Allow openness. Allow curiosity. Notice the mind. Each thought that arises. Allow openness. Don't judge your mind or your experience. Be loving in your curiosity about each thought. Let go of certainty. Let go of any idea about what you should be thinking, accepting your thoughts exactly as they are. Be with yourself as you are. Be curious about who you are. Love how you are in the world. Gently take a deep breath, maybe even a big sigh. Re-enter the present moment and the stream of your life. May we be good company to one another in our questions and our journey. May it be so, blessed be, and amen.
Here at Westside, we practice our UU faith in a variety of ways. One of those is by giving 100% of gifts to our weekly collection, unless on certain specific weeks, to support organizations who carry out our transcendent values of compassion, justice, and equality. Now, this is one of those weeks that we are asking for help providing for our programs here in the congregation. At Westside UU, we value the times we can gather together and share our lives with one another. As our church community grows, we want to expand the opportunities for fun and games, celebrations and sorrows, and memorials and ceremonies. Normally, this is our 5th Sunday of the month plate, but the 5th Sunday of June, we're kind of doing our big Pride one, so we're going to make sure we're doing a Pride charity for that. So for this week, we're going to be doing our normal 5th plate offering to help offset the cost of these special offerings so that everyone in our church community can participate. Please give as you can so that we can expand our game nights, potlucks, picnics, special outdoor celebrations, celebrations of life, and community outreach programs. You can give online through the church's giving page located at the Giving tab at the top of the homepage. Just be sure to select the Service Project Fund, and you can add the name 5th Sunday to it to make sure it goes to that. You can also give using the Vanco mobile app, which is easily downloaded from the App Store, or you can just mail a check to us at 901 Page Avenue, Fort Worth, Texas. And we thank you for your offering today. The offering is going to be, I believe, a video today featuring It Ain't Necessarily So, performed by Cab Calloway. Here it is.
It ain't necessarily so. It ain't necessarily so. The things that you're liable to read in the Bible, it ain't necessarily so. Little David was small, but oh my. Little David was small, but oh my. He fought big Goliath, who laid down and dieth. Little David was small, but oh my. Badu, badu, scat-a-dip, chibba-dip-a-dip, scatty-wah, scatty-wah. Flitter the gummy got the scum-a-doo, do the gift it say, go, yeah, boy. Oh, Jonah, he lived in a whale. Jonah, he lived in a whale. He made his home in that fish's abdomen. Jonah, he lived in a whale. Little Moses was found in a stream. Little Moses was found in a stream. He floated on water till old Pharaoh's daughter, she fished him, she said, from that stream. Badu, gat-a-dip, skibba-dip-a-dip, scatty-wah, scatty-wah. Flitter the gummy got that scoop-a-doo, do the gift it say, It ain't necessarily so. It ain't necessarily so. To tell all the children the devil's a villain, it ain't necessarily so. To get into heaven, don't snap 4 or 7. Live clean, have no faults. I take the gospel whenever it's possible, but with a grain of salt. Methuselah lived 900 years. Methuselah lived 900 years. But who calls that living when no gal will give in to no man? What is 900 years? I'm preaching this sermon to show it ain't necessarily so.
Targaryens are gone. Burn them all! Not all of them.
Well, I'd hoped to have a video for that too, but anyway, that was Cab Calloway. The reading this morning is by the comedian, writer, and actor Don Novello, who created the chain-smoking, straight-brimmed hat, tinted shades character, Father Guido Sarducci. For Saturday Night Live, before it was called SNL, and he always seemed to come up with cogent questions and observations about life, religion, and politics. I can't quite reproduce his accent, but I'll try. He once said, "If a God made the man in his image, why aren't we all, like, invisible?" From the time of the earliest hominids, it seems humans have loved patterns. Patterns allow us to predict. Predictions that materialize comfort us. Predictions thwarted disturb us. We make stories for why things we observe happen. Sometimes those stories comport closely with reality. For instance, if I throw my spear at this angle, it will fall into the mastodon. Other times, not so much. For instance, that rock has a soul. But we cling desperately to our stories until more persuasive stories displace our older stories. Such is the nature of the human psyche. We also entertain present-day fears that likely have their genesis in the pre-dawn of prehistory. One of these is fear of the dark, because in the darkness lies the unknown. Light shows where perils may lie and how we might escape them. Darkness hides those dangers. The perils may be as benign as a toe-stubbing obstacle or sharp rocks, or they may be life-threatening, like vipers or chasms or spiders or flesh-eating animals. Nighttime darkness out by yourself back then was terrifying. No campfire, maybe a torch, maybe moonlight, maybe starlight. Lots of shadows, even if there was some natural light. What may be hiding in the shadows? Real and imagined terrors waited to pounce. The brains of humans have evolved to be quite sophisticated at analysis, but we all still have very active hindbrains that sit just atop our spinal cords and keep us breathing and our hearts beating without us having to consciously think about it, and send us into a panic with instant alerts at possible terrors. Why did we evolve to have these warning systems that trigger at moving shadows when the wind blows tree branches as the moon shines? Because sometimes the tree branch shadows weren't just tree branch shadows, they were threats to life. Those ancient humans without active hindbrain alert systems, or those who were bravely foolhardy, died. They didn't live long enough to reproduce. We, here, now, are the great, great, great descendants of those with timid, hair-trigger hindbrains. We evolved from fast-running, lucky scaredy cats. I try to put myself back into the head of a person living, say, sometime between now and 70,000 years ago, back before Burger Kings, before railroads, before electricity, before flashlights, before gas lanterns, before toilet paper, before writing was invented, way before Christianity or Judaism or Buddhism or even Zoroastrianism or Hinduism were thought of. Back when early humans were hunter-gatherers and their belief was likely animism. Put a pin in that. Back to shadows. Shadows were probably both not scary and terrifying. If we assign classes to shadows, let's say class 1 shadows were static, daytime sun-cast shadows of stationary objects like rocks, mountains, or huts. Class 2 shadows moved with something ordinary. They were attached to objects in motion like people and animals. Classes 1 and 2 were mostly daytime or maybe campfire shadows and not very scary. Class 3 shadows were not physically connected to whatever cast them, like birds or puffy clouds or thrown rocks or spears, the shadow of a man in a tree. Class 3 shadows were therefore a bit less predictable, so perhaps less psychologically comfortable. Probably not terrifying, but likely a bit uncomfortable. But Class 4 shadows were mystifying and terrifying. Class 4 shadows moved quickly and seemingly at random, like the shadows of tree branches in the wind, shadows that darted around like storm clouds, especially at night with lightning flashing. Class 4 shadows comprise deeply dark smudges of the nighttime, hiding the unknown, and the fleeting glimpses out of the corner of your eye that, even though you turn your head quickly to see, nothing is ever there. Class 4 shadows promoted a primordial fear of the dark and the unknown. Were those shadows alive? I'd like to use the classes of shadows idea to help discuss the belief system early humans developed and held. Animism. This idea has evolved and persisted in one form or another all the way to the present time, and is prominent in at least one of its forms in modern Christianity. Class 1 and 2 shadows are not very scary or easily observable and make sense when one understands that they are caused by an opaque object blocking light. In the same way, early animism made sense based on what early humans observed. They likely developed this belief based on their observation that there's a breath spirit that animates people and animals. When a person or animal stopped breathing air, it died. The animating force left. The spirit, or so-called soul, was gone. It joined the air above, which, for all they knew, not understanding yet about Earth's atmosphere, went upward forever to the heavens. These spirits were invisible like the air. Early on, that's just the way it was. Those invisible, formless spirits seemed to join the air above. This earliest animism was most likely a magical, proto-scientific observation, not a religious belief. They likely further extrapolated in their early attempts at science a belief in spirits for other powerful things that moved randomly, like the wind, storms, lightning, rivers, waves, the sun, and planets. That doesn't surprise me. These spirits were still part of the magic around them, just the respect due to the different individual parts of the world. What I have a harder time understanding is the assignment of spirits to non-moving parts of the world, like rocks and trees and mountains, but this seems to have happened. The class 3 shadows correlate of animism probably develops when someone yearns for life after death. Someone may have dreamed of a dead loved one and seen them whole and alive again, even if they got smashed by a mastodon in real life, in a realm only accessible while dreaming. Let's say it was a more proto-scientifically bent individual who figured these invisible, formless puffs of escaped air from a dying loved one must coagulate and remain cohesive and go on to an afterlife. These blobs of anima are no longer connected to their original spot, and now, in the imagination of that early human, have agency and become visible in the dream realm or spirit world. So, presumably, when I, an ancient human, breathed out my last breath could also coagulate into a cohesive blob and join my ancestors in an afterlife accessible in dreams. This idea may have strengthened the concept of the breath being a soul that had agency separate from a body. Like class 3 shadows not being connected to the opaque thing anymore. Apparently, this idea was attractive enough to hold and spread. Okay, this could be good. If you wanted to live on in a dream world, if you liked your ancestors, if your ancestors weren't evil, Another development somewhere along the line, and these developments could have been linear or parallel, we don't know, was shamanism. Shamans claimed to know just a bit more than you did about the spirit world and how it worked and how to access it. Shamans would go into a trance and communicate, they said, with the spirit world to get, say, permission to kill the next rabbit or deer or mastodon without the animal's spirit getting all grumpy and hostile about it. They would sometimes attempt to divine from the spirits what the future would be. They would try to heal the spirits to fix illnesses. They may have shared wisdom stories of the ancestors. Ancestor worship, or at least deep respect for the wisdom of the ancestors, likely took on greater importance as the idea of an afterlife took root. Accumulated knowledge was revered and passed on. A wise shaman encouraged tribal wisdom and practical knowledge to be taught from one generation to the next. Useful, whether or not the ancestors' spirits were accessible or the information came solely through stories of the tribe that were told and retold as sacred. Somewhere along in here, maybe much further down the line, came another idea illustrated by Class 4, random shadow terror. That was this: the idea of totally independent spirits disconnected from close allegiance to anything known in the physical world. Not necessarily your ancestor spirits, other spirits, perhaps from other tribes, maybe from your enemies' tribes, the unknown. Some spirits were believed and hoped to be good, but some were believed to be malevolent. From those concepts, it was a very short series of steps to belief in powerful high gods and fearsome demons and devils. It's hard to tell about spirits, since they were invisible. But myths and stories developed to try to explain each tribe or culture's understandings of how living humans could relate to the unseen fates and spirits, or how those spirits got elevated to God status or demon power. At some point, chants and prayers and rituals and offerings were developed to please or appease the invisible spirits, begging favor or forgiveness or mercy, not knowing if your pleadings or gifts or offerings were enough to keep you safe from the caprices of the gods or demons. Imagine walking in the dark, wondering if the deep, dark shadows contained malevolent spirits or even high gods or demons your shaman had not struck a deal with. Terrifying. Over time, many of these beliefs shifted and developed into the more structured religions we recognize today. These beliefs were passed from generation to generation, as were the anger and enmity of one tribe toward another when that other tribe worshiped a different invisible God. There are still groups now who hold strongly to an ethos similar to what was likely the original animism. That humans are human people, and trees are tree people, and rocks are rock people, and rivers are river people, and all are due respect and care. The Ojibwe tribe in Canada believe this. Humans are not above or below all the other types of people inhabiting an area. I'm guessing most Christians would laugh at this as a religious concept, but most Christians today hold one of the most basic tenets of animism dear, that they have a soul that lives on when their bodies die. I'm also guessing that most Christians are entirely unaware of the debt they owe to early non-religious peoples for inventing that notion. That reminds me of a cartoon I saw a while back in which a baby dinosaur asked his father, "Dad, do gods exist? Does God exist?" The father answers, "Not yet." Notwithstanding the huge time differential between the 65 million years ago when the dinosaurs went extinct and the 50,000-ish years ago when animism was developing, that dino dad might have been a shaman. Have you ever wondered why ancient peoples burned up their sacrifices and offerings for their gods? It's always seemed like a terrible waste to me. Unless you understood that your gods were invisible air spirits and you needed to present your sacrifices and offerings in a form acceptable to your air spirit gods. If you held up the drumstick of a bird from a hunt, what good would that do to an air spirit god? None. But if you burned it first, turning it into smoke that dissipates into the air, not only might it smell pleasing to your air spirit gods, it likely fed them too, because it disappeared into the air. Now, I wasn't there. I'm just trying to connect dots that might have made logical sense. The basis for some of the ideas I've shared with you come from an intriguing book called The Invention of Gods by Bill Lauritsen, still available on Amazon. He goes much further in depth about how it's likely that the dying, rising God ideas shared by so many religions from Babylon and Egypt and ancient Greco-Roman regions, which were then mirrored in Christianity, make much more sense if understood through the lens of watching the rise and fall of volcanoes. I'm not going to delve into the invention of those fierce geologically based gods and their stories today, but although Mr. Lauritsen perhaps reaches a bit far to connect some of the dots in his book, it's a fascinating read. So what have we maybe learned today? Ideas don't usually pop up out of nowhere. They often take their inspiration from things we observe. Early humans noticed things like shadows that weren't scary and shadows that were deeply dark and hid perils and were terrifying because they hid the unknown, as well as shadows that moved quickly and randomly and were frightening because of that quality. They also noticed that death happened when air/breath finally stopped in humans and animals. They probably attributed a magical life force to that air/breath and extrapolated that life force to other powerful moving things like wind, storms, and rivers. This was likely not religious, but was merely respect for the magical world they inhabited. They invented the idea of the air/breath as a soul that could take on agency and survive a body's death, go on to an afterlife, and become one with their ancestors. When that idea expanded to become other ancestors or strange spirits that could be either benevolent or malevolent, the idea of gods and demons developed. Shamans became important to help regular folks safely navigate the spirit world. Chants, rituals, prayers, and offerings came to be believed necessary to please or appease gods and demons. And, notably, the spirits, souls, gods, and demons remained invisible. Religions developed and organized and have been inherited and fought over by subsequent generations. Belief in a soul remained for most religions. And to think, it all started with early proto-scientists eons ago watching a dying person breathe out their last breath. Perhaps it's time, after 50,000 years of understandable but flawed beliefs, perhaps it's time to come out of the shadows for an update. Please stand as you are able and join in the closing hymn, number 73. Thank you. The closing hymn, number 73, Chant for the Seasons in the Gray Hymnal. We'll sing the fourth verse only, the summer verse.
And mind the repeat also. Vernal clouds have turned the star wheel, summer is upon us. Vernal clouds have turned the star wheel, summer is upon us. Gliding are the hawks, hovering above the hot and yellow hillside. Vernal clouds have turned the star wheel, summer is upon us. Crickets in the night, chirping in the ears, the sound of moonlit music. Vernal clouds have turned the star wheel, summer is upon us.
Our closing words today are True Religion by Mark Twain. Man is a religious animal. He is the only religious animal. And he is the only animal that has the true religion, several of them. The chalice is now extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds and hearts and souls of each one of you. Carry that flame with you as you leave this place and share it with those you know, with those you love, and most especially with those you have yet to meet. And join me now in our congregational closing. Go in peace, seeking justice. Go in peace, committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. Go in the peace that is created when, together, we build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce unrelenting love. Go in peace. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. Thank you all so much for being here. Have a wonderful